Wars is part of the Rippin' Podcast Network. Dive into the captivating journey of Patrick Mahomes with hosts Ben Ripping and Kevin Rips. Together, they explore Mahomes' rise from a high school prodigy in Texas to a Super Bowl MVP. Discover how his dynamic card market mirrors his on-field success and why collectors are drawn to his rare treasures. So sit back and enjoy this episode of Cardboard Wars.
April 27th, 2017, it's NFL draft night in Philadelphia. And a 21-year-old kid from Tyler, Texas has rented a country club to watch the proceedings with his family. He's not in a green room. He's not on stage. He genuinely does not know when his name will be called. He fears that it could be in the third round.
And 9 teams pass on him. His phone doesn't ring. Chicago took Mitchell Trubisky at number 2 this year. All these picks start to go by. Mahomes watches, he waits, and then the Kansas City Chiefs, who've been quietly running a counterintelligence operation to make sure no one else got there first, they make their move.
Who it is?
With the 10th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Patrick Mahomes, the second quarterback.
It is Patrick Mahomes the second, not Deshaun Watson. That was the apple of the Reed Dorsey eye in Kansas City. That's the quarterback of the future that they're putting the eggs in the Mahomes.
I mean, they were making a whole bunch of moves, Kevin. They traded their first round pick in the next year, 2018, plus 2 other selections to the Buffalo Bills to jump to number 10. The draft room erupts. Andy Reid, 59 years old, 1 Super Bowl appearance as the head coach, and by the way, he lost that game, says he found his quarterback. It's the one he's been waiting for his entire career.
Ain't that the truth? Because just 7 years later, 3 Super Bowl rings, 3 Super Bowl MVP awards, 2 NFL MVP awards, the fastest quarterback in NFL history to reach 30,000 yards passing, and a contract, Ben, $503 million over 10 years. One that no professional athlete in American team sports had ever signed. Patrick Mahomes didn't just arrive in the NFL, dude rewired the whole thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cardboard Wars. We talk about players, teams, the history of both, and the cards that honor those players. And every once in a while, we might slip in a Pokemon or TCG to Kevin's kind of disgust. My name is Ben Rippin. I'm joined today with Kevin Rips. You can follow us on YouTube, subscribe, comment, and you could win some massive prizes, cards, swag, etc. Today, though, we are diving in to the story of how Patrick Mahomes became Patrick Mahomes. Let's go back to Tyler, Texas. It was a mid-sized city in East Texas, known for roses, oil, and a fierce, competitive, athletic culture. Patrick LaVon Mahomes II is born to Randy Martin and Pat Mahomes Sr., a professional baseball pitcher in the middle of a journeyman career that would take him, Dad, to 6 major league organizations over 11 seasons.
Yeah, his dad, by the way, that's the detail everybody leads with, and for good reason. Pat Sr. pitched for the Twins, the Red Sox, the Mets, the Rangers, the Cubs, and even the Pirates. So Pat Jr., Pat II, if you will, grew up in clubhouses. He took batting tips from A-Rod and Derek Jeter by the time he was 10 years old. The exposure to professional athletic competition at the highest of level and what that life actually looks like up close, that's not a trivial advantage.
His parents divorced when he was 6. Patrick grew up primarily with his mother and Tyler, a real middle-class upbringing in a sports-saturated environment. His godfather was former MLB pitcher LaTroy Hawkins, his dad's teammate from Minnesota. When the other kids were playing video games, Mahomes was in a dugout somewhere just absorbing.
Yeah, he attended White House High School, a school just outside of Tyler. And he wasn't like a single sport prodigy. Yeah, he played football, but he played baseball and basketball, all three simultaneously. And this is going to surprise no one. He was elite at all three. His senior year as a pitcher, get at a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, threw a 16 strikeout no-hitter, was batting .450 at the plate. Like, he was so good. The Detroit Tigers drafted him that year, the 2014 Major League Baseball draft.
Wow. And his senior year as a quarterback, get this, Kevin, 4,619 passing yards, 50 touchdowns, 948 rushing yards, 15 more rushing touchdowns. Max Preps named him the 2013-14 Male Athlete of the Year across all American high school sports. Not Football Athlete of the Year, all sports. And he was only 18 years old.
Yeah, and here's what makes the origin story kind of unusual. Despite those godly numbers, he was only considered a 3-star football recruit. There was only 3 FBS programs that offered him scholarships: Texas Tech, Rice, and the University of Houston. The recruiting services had him ranked 12th among quote-unquote dual threat quarterbacks in his class. 12th. The guy that would become arguably the best quarterback who had ever played the game, arguably, I want to emphasize that word, was ranked 12th in his own recruiting class position as a high school senior.
He ended up choosing Texas Tech, and he also ignored the Tigers draft invitation. He enrolled in Lubbock, Texas, and kept playing baseball as a relief pitcher while preparing to compete for the starting quarterback job. The man who would eventually sign a $500 million contract was at 19 pitching middle innings for the Texas Tech Red Rangers baseball team. Who knew? Texas Tech's offense in 2014 was run by head coach Cliff Kingsbury, a former NFL quarterback who ran an air raid system, high volume passing, spread formations, tempo. It was in retrospect the perfect laboratory for what Mahomes needed to become.
Yeah, he spent his freshman year as a backup to Davis Webb and then won the starting job in 2015. And he was immediately disruptive in a way that scout descriptions from that era captured vividly. One NFL scout said about him, and by the way, this was not a compliment at the time, they said he was reckless. That Favre might have had 3 or 4 plays a game where you said, "What are you doing?" But Mahomes might have had 20 plays a game where you're just like scratching your head and you can't believe or explain what you just saw.
His sophomore season, he recorded 10 games with over 350 passing yards each, including 4 over 400. His junior year is when the record books fractured. He led the entire NCAA in passing yards, 5,052. He threw 53 total touchdowns against Oklahoma in what is still discussed as one of the most extraordinary individual performances in college football history. He threw for 734 yards and set an all-time FBS record with 819 yards of total offense in a single game.
You can officially bump that pass to his resume reel. And I mean, that is a beautiful ball.
Unloads it right in the breadbasket.
Pretty pass. And it's put in the absolute perfect spot.
Patrick Mahomes eluded the rush.
Wow, nice move. First down, touchdown.
That is a phenomenal throw.
Kenny Williams not really used as a running back anymore. Tried to switch the defense as they throw this ball to the end zone. And a touchdown for Texas Tech.
Dude, 734 passing yards in a single game against a Big 12 defense? That is not a stat that belongs in the college game. That belongs in a video game, Ben. That belongs in a simulation where real life doesn't exist.
He declared for the draft after his junior year. And this is where the story gets interesting because the 2017 NFL draft quarterback class was being publicly framed around Trubisky and Deshaun Watson as the two top prospects. Mahomes was considered by most public evaluations as a second-round talent at best.
The disconnect between public evaluation and private conviction is critical to understand here, though, because the teams that watched Mahomes closely, not the evaluators writing the reports, but the coaches and the executives who sat in rooms with him, came away with a completely different picture. And Andy Reid's staff in Kansas City, you got to hand it to them. In particular, they were becoming obsessed.
Brett Veach, then the Chiefs' director of player personnel, had stumbled onto Mahomes in a tape while scouting a different defensive prospect. What he saw stopped him in his tracks. He started sending clips to Andy Reid. Reid told him to slow down. Veach kept sending the clips. And by the fall of 2016, the Chiefs had quietly decided that if Mahomes was available at any reasonable draft position, they were going to get him regardless of the cost. The 2017 draft was held, like I said, in Philadelphia. Mahomes, he chose not to attend. He did not want to be photographed looking nervous on national television while watching other quarterbacks get called first. Reasonable.
Very reasonable. But at the same time, inside the Chiefs' war room, there was a controlled anxiety, Ben. Other teams had shown some interest in Mahomes, the Cardinals, the Giants, the Saints, and even the Steelers. But the Chiefs knew the window was potentially narrow. They arranged that trade with the Bills that you laid out earlier that required execution at the exact right moment. They couldn't do it too early, and they couldn't do it too late before someone else cut in ahead of them.
Mahomes himself later admitted he had tipped the Chiefs off. He knew other teams were prepared to take him somewhere between 10 and 12. He told Kansas City's front office, if you let me get to 12, somebody else is going to take me. It was leverage offered voluntarily because he wanted to be a Chief. The kind of self-awareness in that sort of a 21-year-old is pretty unusual.
Absolutely. There's one more layer, though, that the Chiefs added. They leaked a false rumor that they were trading up for a linebacker, not a quarterback. Misdirection at the professional and the highest of levels. They did not want their competitors to know what was going on until it was too late for them to do anything about it. This was not a front office stumbling into greatness. This was deliberate and sophisticated. It was a high-level operation like none other on a draft day in the NFL.
This is Draft Day movie part 2. Kevin, which is, by the way, one of my favorite football movies, definitely in my top 10. The trade, he gets executed at 10. Kansas City sent the 27th pick a third-round selection, and their entire 2018 first-round pick, all of those to Buffalo. 3 selections for one, Andy Reid, who had not drafted a first-round quarterback since 1999 with Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia. Finally, he said he had his man. He told reporters afterward, everyone liked this guy. We couldn't find anybody that didn't like Mahomes.
Yeah, and here's something I want to point out. The Chiefs did something that is easy to overlook, but was enormously important. They made him sit because they had a good quarterback already, Alex Smith. He was a solid professional, a man who would post his best career passer rating in that very season while Mahomes was watching from the sidelines. Smith started those games in 2017. Mahomes, though, absorbed everything, the system, the terminology. He got familiar and comfortable with the speed of the NFL. He played one game in relief and threw for 284 yards, but mostly he waited.
January 2018, Alex Smith is traded to Washington. Patrick Mahomes is handed the starting job. He's only 22 years old. The NFL has no idea what is about to happen.
Yeah, week 1 against the Chargers, 4 touchdown passes. Week 2 against the Steelers, 6 more. That's 10 touchdowns in 2 weeks, buddy. That was like a record that previously belonged to Peyton Manning and Drew Brees for young quarterbacks who at the time each had 9. Mahomes went right past them. Before the league had really even fully processed what was happening, what it was watching, Mahomes was already breaking records.
By the end of the regular season, the final totals, 5,097 passing yards. Kevin, listen to this. 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a passer rating of 113.8. He became only the second quarterback in NFL history after Peyton Manning in 2013 to throw for 50 touchdowns and more than 5,000 yards in the same season. And he was only 23 years old. He won the NFL MVP unanimously.
I'm truly honored to win the NFL's Most Valuable Player award. When you look at this award, you see the rich history that it has. You see guys like Elway and Favre, Manning and Brady, and many more. And I'm so humbled that I can be sharing this prestigious honor with them.
The style of play, by the way, is as important as the numbers. What Mahomes introduced was not just production and big numbers. He introduced a new category of play. This sidearm throw while falling away, the no-look pass to the opposite side of the field, the deep ball released off the back foot from a platform that should make the throw physically impossible. Plays that broke every conventional teaching about quarterback mechanics worked, and they worked repeatedly, time and time again.
Scouts who had questioned his recklessness realized they had fundamentally misread what they were seeing. He wasn't reckless. He had a completely different processing model where conventional quarterbacks see defenders and decide. Mahomes, he was anticipating. He had already calculated the outcome before the snap. The chaos wasn't flaw. It's a system for operating at a speed the defense just couldn't comprehend.
Yeah, Andy Reid, by the way, who had coached Brett Favre in Green Bay as an offensive assistant, he had developed Donovan McNabb into a 5-time Pro Bowler in Philly. And by the way, totally resurrected Alex Smith's career in Kansas City. Looked at Mahomes and said publicly that he was the most naturally gifted quarterback that he had ever seen. That's not a small statement from that man. I mean, Andy Reid is a all-time great coach.
Super Bowl in 2020, hosted in Miami, Kansas City versus San Francisco. The Chiefs are trailing 20-10 entering the fourth quarter, and then Mahomes, only 24 years old, is playing his first Super Bowl, orchestrates 3 scoring drives in less than 7 minutes. Final score, Chiefs 31, 49ers still 20. Sorry, M46, 49ers lost. He becomes the youngest quarterback in NFL history to win a Super Bowl MVP award.
Yeah, that fourth quarter is the moment that the casual football fan starts to understand what the sport had in this guy, in Patrick Mahomes. Trailing by 10 with 7 minutes left in the biggest game of his life against a defense that had shut him down for 3 quarters. And this dude was calmer than anybody else on the field. Teammates described it afterwards that he just never changed his demeanor. There was no panic. There was no crazy urgency in his voice. He just went out and executed the plays.
The Chiefs returned to the Super Bowl the following year, but they lost to Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's 7th championship, a result that felt almost deliberately designed by the football gods to force a conversation about succession. Who comes next after Brady? The answer was already on that same field, but it was on the losing side. Throwing for 270 yards against one of the most relentless pass rushes in Super Bowl history with virtually no offensive line protection.
Yeah, then let's go to the Super Bowl in 2023. Kansas City versus Philadelphia. Mahomes plays the final 2 quarters of the biggest game of the year on a high ankle sprain that he had suffered in the conference championship game against Cincinnati a couple weeks earlier. Despite that, he's still scrambling. Of course, he's limping, but he throws a late go-ahead touchdown. Chiefs win 38-35. Once again, he's named MVP, and his coach, Mr. Andy Reid, calls it the guttiest performance that he's ever witnessed.
Mahomes in trouble, gets away. Mahomes racing with the bad ankle and all. Inside the 20, and he's taken down.
You're not allowed to go from an eligible to an ineligible player on back-to-back plays.
Blitz coming. Mahomes, man wide open. Touchdown, Chiefs and Sky Moore. Here we go. Hurts has all day. Now some rushers come. Going to throw it as far as his arm can take it, which is well short. And the Kansas City Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57.
Let's go another year in advance, February 2024, overtime against the 49ers. Chiefs trailing 22-19. Mahomes drives the length of the field, hits Hardman on a 3-yard touchdown pass to win 25-22. Once again, sorry, Jake, M46. In just the second Super Bowl in history to go to overtime, he throws for 333 yards. His 3rd Super Bowl MVP. He joins Tom Brady and Joe Montana as the only quarterbacks in NFL history to win 3 MVPs.
Yeah, and then in 2025, makes the Super Bowl again, 3rd straight year. Something that really not many teams have done ever in the history of the NFL. They lost to the Eagles 40-22. It was the first time that a Mahomes-led team had been truly dominated on football's biggest stage. He only threw, I say only, he only threw for 220 yards. The 3-peat, though, it was gone. And for the first time, there were genuine questions about whether the dynasty of the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid had peaked.
Here's the context that matters. He was 29 years old when that loss happened. He has been to 5 Super Bowls in the first 7 seasons as a starter. He's won 3 of those. His career postseason record stands at 17 wins and 4 losses. The 4th loss includes 2 Super Bowls, 1 to Brady in his prime, and 1 to a dominant Eagles team. The standard against which he had already been measured is only against Tom Brady. And by the most meaningful metrics, he's ahead of Brady's pace at the same age.
Yeah, let's go backwards, though, in time, just a few years. That contract that he signed in 2020, man, $503 million. That's the richest contract in American team sports history when he signed that. I mean, we're starting to see some of those numbers these days, but this was in 2020. And then I think it was in 2023, he restructured it to deliver like $210 million in effective cap space back to the team just in a couple of years, like in 23 and 26. I mean, this is the biggest pile of money a player has ever seen in a 4-year span, $200+ million.
And if you would like to be a little bit richer yourself, jump onto YouTube, find Cardboard Wars, find this episode, give the episode a like, and in the comments, type Mahomes for me, and Kevin and I will pick at least one lucky winner, and we will send you a Patrick Mahomes encased numbered to 15 Panini card. Very valuable, very cool, being sent to one of you if you take the time to go to YouTube, subscribe, like, and comment Mahomes for me. Now, the on-field story is only part of what makes Mahomes this unusual figure. He's been building something else that very few athletes in any area have constructed. A diversified portfolio of ownership stakes, different brand relationships, community investments that operate as one coherent business, not a random collection of endorsements.
Yeah, back in 2020, he joined the ownership group of the Kansas City Royals, you know, his hometown, if you will, Major League Baseball franchise. And in 2021, he became a shareholder in the Sporting Kansas City of the MLS, Major League Soccer. 23, he joined the ownership group of Northwest, I'm going to mess that up, but the Kansas City Current. Also, by the way, he did that alongside teammate Travis Kelce. He's become an investor in the Alpine Formula One racing team. He's a minority owner of a professional pickleball franchise. I can't even believe they have those. He invested in the Whataburger fast food chain's expansion into Missouri and Kansas. And as of 2024, his group actually operates 11 of those locations in the Kansas City area.
His endorsement portfolio reads like a showcase of American consumer brands. State Farm, Oakley, Adidas, Pfizer, Head and Shoulders, Coors Light. When he was named to the Time 100 Most Influential People list in 2020, 2023, and 2024, in 2024, he donated $5 million to Texas Tech for stadium and athletic facility improvements. Good guy.
Yeah. I mean, his charitable foundation, 15 in the Homies, I love that name, founded in 2019, has issued over 134 grants and distributed nearly $3 million in funding focused on children's health and wellness in underserved communities. He donated $1 million to rebuild Kansas City's Martin Luther King Jr. Park. And after the George Floyd incident, he led a group of NFL players in a public video that just challenged the league to condemn racism and just absolutely make a stand.
The business architecture is deliberate. Scratch that. The business architecture is deliberate. He is building equity ownership in Kansas City's sporting and commercial infrastructure at a scale that will far outlast his NFL career by decades. And by the time he retires, the city will not just remember him as a quarterback, they'll remember him as one of the people that owns a major part of that city. But let's talk about this comparison that our fans out here that listen to Cardboard Wars like to make. As many people compare Mahomes, where he sits in history, to Tom Brady. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. He played 23 seasons. He retired at 45 years old, having thrown for 89,214 yards and 649 touchdowns, both all-time records. He's definitely the standard, Kev.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. But Mahomes, at 29 years old, 3 Super Bowl victories, 5 appearances total, approximately 32,000 passing yards, 245 touchdowns, and just over 7 full NFL seasons. His yards per game average of roughly 290 is like the highest in NFL history. I mean, he reached 30,000 career passing yards in 103 games. It's faster than any quarterback ever, breaking, by the way, the previous record of 109 games set by current MVP Matthew Stafford.
The pace argument is clear. He's definitely ahead of Brady at the same age by almost every relevant metric. The volume argument is also clear. Brady played 16 more seasons and won 4 more championships. The question the next decade will answer is how many of those remaining seasons can Mahomes sustain at this level?
Yeah, and there's a context point worth making. Brady's career was shaped by a coaching and an organizational system. Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots framework that was arguably the most efficient winning machine in NFL history. Now, Mahomes has built his success in a system that has had genuine personnel turnover, offensive coordinator changes, and really the loss of a lot of his key weapons. But Mahomes consistently elevates the people around him rather than having, they all depend on him and he just keeps bringing them up.
In 2017, Andy Reid said Patrick Mahomes was not a finished product. He was right. 7 years in, Mahomes is still not a finished product. He's a 30-year-old quarterback at the center of the franchise dynasty, still improving, still redefining what the position looks like, and with enough contract years remaining to chase numbers that will likely never be caught.
Yeah, the kid who watched the draft from this country club in Tyler, who was ranked 12th, again, I still can't even believe that. He was ranked 12th among these dual threat quarterbacks in his high school class. He was considered a developmental prospect too raw to really get playing time right away. He has become the most dominant quarterback of his generation and most plausible heir to the title of the greatest to ever play the position.
3 Super Bowls, the richest contract in American team sports history, a business empire being built in a city he has chosen to represent, and at 29, by virtually every objective measure, he's still improving. That's the story. The second half of his story, it just hasn't been written yet. So let's get to the nerdy side of Cardboard Wars, the cardboard part. In August of 2021, at the National Sports Card Convention, which was in Chicago, same place it'll be this year, and M46, Bob Rippin, Kevin Rips, Ben Rippin, all of us will be there. If you plan on going, hit us up. There's a transaction underway. At a dealer's booth, a single card is on display. Kevin, it's a 2017 National Treasures RPA rookie patch auto. It's the 1-of-1 version with an NFL shield, graded by Beckett. It's a BGS 8.5 with a perfect 10 on the auto. The card was made only once. There's no other copy. It was printed when its subject was a backup quarterback who had not thrown a single NFL pass.
A few days before that convention, that card had changed hands in a private transaction for, get this, Ben, $4.3 million. It was the highest price ever paid for a football card. It was the 4th highest price ever paid for any sports card across any sport at any time. And of course, the man on that card is the man we've been talking about for the last half hour or so, Patrick Mahomes. He himself told ESPN that card was too expensive for him personally. He would not have paid that kind of money for his own card.
Yeah, $4.3 million for a card produced only 4 years earlier when its subject was watching film from the bench. The people in the hobby who had been paying attention weren't surprised. Everyone else wanted to know how it happened. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mahomes card market, the market structure and some of his key cards, the milestone sales, and why the ceiling for Patrick Mahomes may not have been reached quite yet. To understand why certain Mahomes cards command the prices they do, you first have to understand this kind of modern football card ecosystem that we exist in. It's fundamentally different from the tobacco era world. Check out previous Cardboard Wars episodes on the T206 Honus Wagner. Because now in the modern hobby, one company, up until right now, held the exclusive NFL license, and that was Panini America. That means every official licensed football card produced since 2016 came from just one manufacturer.
Yeah, really funny, Ben, because you and I are recording this quite literally the day before Topps is about to release their product. But we're talking about the Mahomes card here and Panini. Now, Panini produces dozens of distinct products each year, each with its own design and its own aesthetic, different price points, different rarity structures. At the accessible end, you have products like Prizm, Donruss, and Score, kind of the high volume sets that are distributed widely, where a base rookie card might sell for $10 or $20, 30 or 40. And then you got the ultra premium end, where you have products like National Treasures and Flawless, low print sets packed with autographs, jersey patches, serial numbers on the cards. And these packs can run hundreds, truly thousands of dollars just for a single pack.
Mahomes' 2017 rookie year fell into this new ecosystem of the Panini license, where Panini had full coverage. There are over 30 recognized Mahomes rookie cards in the Beckett database, and that number doesn't count the parallels, the autographs, or the memorabilia variations, which number in the hundreds and hundreds. A collector can find a base Mahomes rookie card for under $100 or spend millions chasing one of these rare treasures. The market expands and goes across the entire economic range of collectors.
Yeah, and I think the Prizm product line deserves special attention because it's the most dominant modern set in the hobby. It's like the closest thing that Panini had to the Topps flagship cards, right? Mahomes' 2017 Panini Prizm Silver rookie is still the card that most collectors think of when they picture a Mahomes rookie. In fact, you and I have had this conversation several times at card shows, Ben, where we talk about, hey, a really great thing to get into is silver Prizm rookie cards, right? When you're collecting quarterbacks, you can get those across a wide range of years. And it's kind of like having a really high, really nice card that you know has a lot of upside. That PSA 10 silver, Prizm Silver, valued at roughly $5,000 in 2025 and 26. That is a card that in the fall of 2017, you could have pulled that from a pack for like $20.
But the Prizm is not the record setter. For that, you got to go up in the hierarchy to National Treasures, which is Panini's probably second most premium annual football offering outside of Flawless. National Treasures is where the cards that move the market tend to live. National Treasures is built around one core concept: game used, sometimes, not always, combined with on-card autographs in serialized low print editions. Think to 99 to 49 to 25 to 10 to 5 to 1 of 1, etc. The flagship card in any NT set is the RPA, traditionally the to 99 card, a card featuring a large patch cut from a game-worn jersey, an autograph signed directly on the card's surface, and a serial number identifying the card's place within the total print run. In 2017, the true rookie card, the one that everybody searches for, is actually a horizontal, whereas in many follow-on years after that, the true rookies were vertical cards.
Yeah, Mahomes 2017 National Treasures RPA comes in multiple versions. The base version, numbered to 99, meaning exactly what it sounds like. 99 copies of that exist. That card, Ben, in a PSA 10, sold for $193,000 at a golden auction in August of 23. For context, in 2018, that same card was worth $3,000 to $4,000. I don't like to do math in public, but that's a big multiple in just 5 years.
I'm checking Card Ladder right now to kind of get a live thought on this. And I went back just the last year, Kev, to try to find a to 99. August 28, 2025 to 99, true rookie RPA from National Treasures, $372,000.
Wow.
Then there are rarer parallels, the gold parallel, the platinum version, one with a single color patch. And at the top, the card that broke the record is an NFL shield. The shield patch is the official NFL logo that appears on the game balls, but also on the jerseys of the players playing. And they cut off that shield and they embed that into a card. It can be a game use shield, a player worn shield, or a not associated with any specific player or game shield. All hold value, but obviously the game worn Mahomes cards, which there has not been a lot made, not until actually this year's in the distinctly Mahomes product that just came out. There hasn't been many.
Yeah, that 2017 Mahomes National Treasures Platinum Shield RPA is BGS graded 8.5 overall with a perfect 10 on the autograph. Now, the BGS 10 autograph subgrade means that Beckett's graders confirm that the signature meets the highest possible standard. And that card sat in a vault in a high security storage facility in, I believe it was Portland, used by collectors to store and trade premium assets until a buyer came looking for it.
The buyer was Leo Roberto, the owner of LJ's Card Shop in New Albany, Ohio. He contacted PWCC looking for the card. PWCC's director of business development, Jesse Craig, knew actually who owned it. A private negotiation followed. The final price, $4.3 million. Roberto took it to the National Sports Collectors Convention days later, where it was on display in his booth. His plan was to hold it, not flip it, to sit with it and watch the career continue.
You know, this is one of the things that sort of reframes the entire Mahomes-Brady comparison, at least in card terms. Brady doesn't have like a one of one from his rookie year because manufacturers weren't doing that in 2000. They didn't produce one of ones. The concept did not yet exist. But could you imagine if Brady had a shield card? I mean, there's been some people that estimated it might sell for $15 to $20 million, Ben. The structural advantage that Mahomes has over Brady in the card market, being drafted in this modern era of serialized ultra premium production, it's a permanent one, and it's really one that can't ever be closed.
By the way, the history of Bowman and the history of Tom Brady was one of the first episodes that we ever launched or recorded here on Cardboard Wars. The Mahomes card market did not spike overnight. It built in different stages, each driven by his on-field performance, and the pace of that build is instructive for understanding how the modern hobby prices living athletes.
You got stage one, 2017, right? His draft year. Again, Mahomes is selected 10th. Significant for quarterback, but again, it's not like he was the number one pick. It wasn't even consensus that he was a first rounder. So his rookie cards are they're valued as, top 10 picks, but it's meaningful, but that's not extraordinary. National Treasures RPA might fetch $3,000 or $4,000. Silver Prizm might go for $50 to $100 on the secondary market. So the hobby's watching, but it's not yet placing big bets on him in this stage.
Stage 2, 2018 season. He throws 50 touchdowns and passes for over 5,000 yards, gets the MVP. The silver jumps from $100 to several $100s within weeks of the MVP announcement. The National Treasures RPA crosses $10,000. The market has made a decision. They're going to start investing in Mahomes.
Yeah, the next stage, if you will, Super Bowl 2020. He wins the championship. He wins the MVP. He's still only 24 years old. At this point, every rational market participant understands that Mahomes is a generational talent. It's no longer a secret. It's no longer something that might happen. And now there's a window to acquire his key cards at anything resembling reasonable. And this window is closing quickly. That Silver Prizm passes $1,000 and that National Treasures RPA crosses over the six-figure mark.
Stage 4, this is the sports card boom. It's right in the middle of the pandemic. Everybody's locked at home, sitting around watching the YouTubes and the TikToks and the Instagrams, and they're getting bored and they're ripping cards, and the market goes crazy. It's the most explosive expansion of the hobby in history, driven by stimulus funds, media coverage, and a new generation of collectors entering the hobby. Prices across all premium modern cards move to the sky. Mahomes was one of the biggest beneficiaries because he was the sport's most prominent active player at the time.
Yeah, his top 3 all-time sales prices are all from 2021. In fact, when you and I were doing research, I was surprised that there haven't been more recent sales that have crossed over. That 101 National Treasure Shield, 4.3 million. A second copy of a National Treasures RPA at 399,000 that sold through Golden. A BGS 10 Black Label Contenders Cracked Ice Auto, 336,000. I mean, these numbers represent the peak of pandemic era spending. And yeah, they've since come down a little bit, but that Cracked Ice PSA 10, for example, sold for $114,000 in 2023, down from that peak of 336. But the correction has only been in the speculative tier, not the foundational tier.
I think this is where a lot of card collectors make mistakes, Kevin, is they miss that opportunity to have these cards that financially could change somebody's lives because they move in and out of these people and they don't give these people enough years to progress. Personally, I'm a rookie collector. I try to collect a few rookies of every good player, then the top 5 or 10, if you could think of it, from each sport each year, and I sit on them. And over time, not all of them will make it, but 1 or 2 will turn into something massive. And I think that's your opportunity. Instead of trying to find the Mahomes to 99 card that most of us can't afford, why don't you go for who the player is this year and who the player is going to be next year and start adding some of those cards to your collection? Kevin, who do you think about when you think about collecting football cards right now that you would just want to stick in your little safe and forget about it for a while?
Well, I mean, I think the easy thing, Ben, is I always just go to who are the top young quarterbacks, right? We've had so many great young quarterbacks come out recently. I think of, despite his injuries in year 2, think of guys like Jaden Daniels. I think of guys like Caleb Williams. In fact, I suspect if Caleb Williams has another big improvement this year in year 3, like he did in year 2 compared to year 1, we're going to see some massive numbers. And so I got to say, like, if you're not buying Caleb Williams cards now, you're probably going to regret that in 2 years.
Think about the Super Bowl episode, Kevin, that we recorded when we talked about the Seahawks quarterback.
Yeah.
His cards are still pretty cheap overall. And for the last couple of years, you could basically get them for nothing. But what happens if he goes back and he doubles down or triples or gets a couple Super Bowls? That could be pretty meaningful to the hobby and to those prices. And then there's some of the more speculative QBs like Shedeur. Think about some of these players, add a few to your collection, and just wait. You never know. You might end up with a 6-figure card or even more sitting in your collection. But like I like to say, the secret to being rich in the hobby is to not sell the cards that go up in value. Sit on them like investments. You never know what will happen. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Cardboard Wars, where we give you a window into the hobby and a front seat to the movie that we make about the players that we consider some of the best from every single sport. Don't forget to go to YouTube, give a comment. You could win a Mahomes /15 card. Give us a review on Apple or wherever you listen. It means the world to us. And if you're hitting up any of the major card shows, reach out to Kevin Rips on Instagram or Ben Ripping on Instagram and let us know that you're going to be there. We'd love to shake hands and introduce ourselves. Until the next episode, see you later.
Thanks for listening to Cardboard Wars on the Rippin' Podcast Network. Don't forget to leave a rating and review and check out rippin.com to get connected to what we have coming up. Find us on Instagram and let us know what you would like to hear about on a future episode of Cardboard Wars. Until next time, keep ripping.